Welcome to the office hours, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get to the office, shall we? How's it going, everybody? My name is Paul, Berserker01, Batman Shelley, the humble host and space bartender at the Astropub. Your space bar at the end of Twitch. I'm also the moderator on the captain's table and your professor at Galactic Historian. This is office hours, where I just kind of a chill AMA stream. We do sometimes do some presentations and some discussions, but generally speaking, we hang out and talk. We talk Star Citizen. We look at the latest news. We talk about the latest lore, all sorts of things. So, welcome, y'all. Welcome. Death Trooper, Nighthawk, Phantom, Aimless. Well-informed people of the bar. Anyone know if the Gemini is getting refueling along with the Starfarer? I assume so. Hey, Sandy. Got it within the acceptable 5 minutes. Yeah, I started a little later on YouTube. I started early on Twitch because if I do it early on YouTube, I've got problems. Because if I start early on YouTube, then there's always some smart guy in the comments like, it starts at 10 minutes. It's like, so I've been trying to like give a lead in. For those of you who don't know, a little bit of background knowledge, Twitch has always had a bit of a delay in its API. It's shifted over the years, but it's usually about 10 minutes. 5 to 10 minutes is the average before the API turns on and lets people know you're streaming. And then it can take it even longer to do that. YouTube doesn't have that problem. It's pretty instantaneous. So usually what I do is I take the first 5 to 10 minutes of a stream, turn on some music, put up the get started stream. People who are early, they kind of wait, hang out. And then once I hit that 10-minute mark, I get started. And usually when I do office hours is when I start doing the stream, because this is a recording for YouTube as well. So YouTube will kind of get it. And I've had some people who mentioned that that I need to put in like timestamps, and I probably won't still. Very rarely. I used to do it a lot, and then I just kind of stopped because I don't have time. It takes quite a while to go through and kind of make everything down. And yeah, I could be noting down things, but that's not the point of this. The point of this stream is to just relax, hang out, talk with y'all, maybe do some mini things. And if I do those mini things, I often turn them into like capsules and such. So y'all can watch them later, more succinctly. But I'm probably not going to do that. So I apologize if that's what you're looking for, but these are going to be long. They're going to be rambling. They're live streams. They're not really meant for people to consume as kind of like very straight. Like, I just need to know the information. If you need to know the information, there are plenty of other channels on YouTube and streamers who are willing to do that. That's not me. So good luck on in your expedition if that's going to be the end of it. The rest of you, welcome to the longest rambling streams in Star Citizen history. I saw part of ISC. I'm gonna pull up where I left off. I'm gonna pull up the sprint report. Though you should watch ISC, because if you haven't already watched ISC, they talk about the player experience team, including Wikipedia, who I've seen in person many times, and many of y'all didn't know who's Waka. I don't know if Waka's watching, or if anyone from player experience stream is watching. I don't know why you are, but the only thing I'm gonna say is, if you're really listening, where the fuck is my pizza? It is harshing my player experience. Thank you, Santa Claus. It's made the stream overlay was the basic layout was something I did a long time ago, and Darj, I actually paid Darj to do it further, and then the background was done by Desless, who's a fan, he was doing some working on some stuff in Blender, and he put this together. That's actually Pyro in the background. So let me pull this up. So I'm gonna skip through it. It's a good experience to watch, but I've already watched it, and I know people, but I haven't watched the rest of it. So they'll just end up nerfing the toppings, Paul. Hey, Blizzard. Thank you so much for that 4-month support. Different puffs. Yes. Thank you for them cheers there, Mount Center. We got a hype train on Twitch. Where does the poo in space eventually go? It stays where it's been ejected forever. Yeah, it does kind of feel like I should be staring at you with making deals. All right, let me turn off the music. We're gonna go to the presentation. Also, Lando, if you are Space Dad, I am Space Daddy.
The player experience team, often the same folks transitioning from one to the other. And up next, it's time for another sprint report, so let's get to it. Let's start things off with these new docking areas being created for our high-tech space stations like August Dunlo found in orbit above the planet Crusader. Now, while docking came...
What? What? Did he just confirm that they were getting docking in oh, video audio is too low. Okay, I'll pull it up a little bit. Yeah, I turn it down because it gets really, on my monitor it gets pretty big. Yeah, so either two things happen. One, that we've confirmed docking in Orison, or two, they've changed the name of Olisar to Dunlo. So, I mean, PO has always been going away, but I think what they're confirming is that Orison is getting docking, which is big. That means that the theory that I posted many moons ago that that the reason why Orison is big is because you can park a fucking whole sea in that bitch and unload it is pretty fucking big. It makes sense to have a place that has you can park big haulers, which are mostly forced to stay in space, just right next to your assembly line and still build stuff.
Online a little while ago, several space stations and their respective archetypes still needed this work
spaceport
to enable docking at all the stations of the Stanton system. Next up, let's check in with the Drake Corsair and these gray box images of the mess hall interior, which looks to take some of its cues from what you may already be familiar with from the Drake Caterpillar. There's also the cockpit where pilots spend most of their time, and an up-close look at the dashboard.
Yeah, I saw space. The issue with space is more to do with that maybe more to do with the placeholder. Oh, the fan's back. The fan is back, ladies and gentlemen. We got the fan back.
And finally, a look at perspective pilot visibility.
That's par for Drake.
We've also got these looks at the Drake Vulture, which is currently rounding out final art phase.
I don't know why it's doing this
liveries.
On me.
Let's go ahead and do one of those social media quizzes in the comments. Which one is your favorite? 1, 2, 3, or 4? And from brand new ships to those that have seen better days, let's take another look at the continuing development of our upcoming Reclaimer derelicts. Now, as part of the work our Montreal team is doing, most derelicts will fall into one of 3 categories: old, new, and inhabited. And as part of those inhabited, you can see here preliminary work on housing modules to be found both outside and within the wreckage itself. Tech is also being developed to allow the overall object container that contains the derelict within to pick up biome information from wherever it's dynamically spawned. That means if it's spawned in snow, it gets snow covering, or in this case, ivy and a variety of plant growth. The team is also building up a new library of derelict shaders for various states of decomposition. And when all this is brought together, it'll mean a greater variety of points of interest for you to discover and new mission areas spawned once you accept the job, all dynamically placed and dressed as needed.
Isn't all Drake cut, copy, and paste? No, all Drakes are not cut, copy, and paste. All Drakes are cutlasses. They're just slightly modified cutlasses.
And before we move on, a short video look at the interior habitable spaces currently being fleshed out.
Cutlass and paste, that's much better.
And then lastly, let's take a look at current VFX progress on the handheld salvage beam we discussed on last week's Star Citizen Live with Mike Snowden. Now, while it's important to state that this effect you're seeing here is not final, repeat, not final, and this is a showcase only of the VFX involved, I hope we can all agree, this is still really cool as heck. I mean, just look at this thing. The way the particles are being atomized and sucked up off the hull of the ship. I'm gonna tell you, I just kind of sat and watched this on loop for about 5 minutes straight and was thoroughly mesmerized. In fact, Amanda, let's change up the music and just let this play out for a bit. Really get our zen on. I said get our zen on. You're messing with me. There we go.
Yeah.
Of course,
yep.
We'll learn more about salvage.
That's for cutting tool in the back. But this isn't salvage, guys. This is hull stripping. That's not salvage.
Ship-based and handheld next quarter ahead of its much anticipated introduction to the persistent universe. So what did we learn this week? Well, we learned that it takes quite a bit to keep up with the massive amount of feedback the players provide. And then it's all hands on deck with the developers, the community team, the player relations team, and more to do it. And I'm gonna name drop the customer service team and the concierge team because they deserve a shout out too. That derelicts are shaping up to bring new gameplay opportunities through old and busted spaceships. And that the day when we can leave messages for others in the hull of abandoned spacecraft using the handheld salvage gun are close at hand. What will you write first? For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckabee. We'll see you all next week.
That's pretty cool. Refuel with lasers. I see a bunch of people commenting like, oh, it's magic space lasers. Again, ladies and gentlemen, reject sim. Embrace the beam. Beam is love. Beam is life. Taste the beam. Star Citizen. I'm not even fucking around with you. Just like beams are fine. Beams are good. Beams are ways to get things done. I really don't want them fucking around with like dynamically hitting injection points on very specific spots, having to find a fucking vein, because that would be way too much for medical. That would be stupid, stupid, detailed, that no game ever does. It still has to be a fun game to play. Eating it with laser beams, yes. I tasted beam once. Ketamine is a hell of a drug. Ketamine is a hell of a drug. Beams on their ships? I put beams on my ships. What are you talking about? Oh, hey, Saber. We're just talking a little bit about... We were watching ISC and stuff like that. Beams are the future. Make yellow snow with beam. Oh, taste the beams. Eat the beams. People are going to draw a penis. Time to penis is going to go way up there. Someone's like, oh my God, does that mean we're going to have, are we going to see, like, the bigger ones? Yeah, we're going to see the bigger ones. They've even talked about how they've tested the bigger salvage, and I think even the bigger tractor beams. So, wait for the lore beam. 3 thistle laser. That's not even fast cart. That's Sandy Claus making the 3/5 joke. Oh God. Hey dog, I heard like beams, so I put beam on your beam so you can beam while you beam beams. Yes. Yes. Thank you for that. Twitch Prime for 5 months. Thank you, my man. Thank you, Lifter. All right, as is tradition, I have been doing a lot of painting recently. I've been getting back into it. I had a bunch of stuff like written down. I didn't record anything this week for Galactic Historian because I just needed some time to not do that. And I got into like painting, and I was just like, hey, I'm really enjoying myself, and I think I did really well with these. So this is getting my Tau shield drones done. And then Tau Sergeant. Beam me up, Scotty. Those drones are coming along a lot quicker than CIG's ones. Yes. I actually sat down last night and banged out 10 drones in the course of about 2 hours. Because they're really simple. I mean, like, 6 of them were just shield drones like this. So I could tell that, like, I just spray painted it black, did green on the insides. The rim is all kind of like a bone. Then I did the same in the bottom. You can kind of see at the bottom. The green and the bone in the bottom. That's it. With the red eyes. That's it. I also put some steel on the back. But they're pretty simple to do. I did very detailed Tau. I've been trying to, like, with the Tau have probably been my best painted minis. I've learned everything I've learned from the last 2 years of painting. I've gone into the Tau, and they're pretty good. Bone yellow sucks ass though to use, and it's hard to make it that it doesn't look gloopy. So. I think them not talking about the repair side of the coin, maybe bearing the lead. What do you mean there, Brother Nature? Some green, eh? Yeah, this is, it's like a blue-green. Which you can kind of see when I do that. But you can also see that it's definitely, like, this green. Speaking of drones, would the combat drones be useful in Star Citizen? I think they would. I think manned portable combat drones, which have like maybe enough lasers for like maybe like effectively like a small machine gun on it, or maybe bombs you could drop, or maybe like that sort of thing, like grenade launcher would be pretty cool. What paints I use? I use mostly Citadel, but I also use some Army Painter and some other stuff. But I mostly use Citadel just because it's the ones I learned with when I was younger. So I use brush. I don't use airbrush. I use a regular hand brush. I've been meaning to get an airbrush at some point and learn how to use it, but I imagine that airbrushing it makes it a lot faster. Hey, Scott Odom. When do you think the Reclaimer will become useful? It's, you mean used for salvage? Probably not until next year. Usually takes them more than a few patches for them to kind of update with some of that stuff. think the repair side of salvaging is a big step towards the physical damage. Yes. Saludo Barrios. Like, no, like. In fact, for being a little dick like that, you're just gonna get removed and boom. Get fucked, son. Go somewhere else then. Bye. Yeah, the salvage look great. How's PTU? Is PTU 3 going to be good? How is it going to be good? I mean, yeah, it's going to be good. Based off of what the leaks have come out and based off of what people are saying, it's going to shape up to be a lot more different than you think. Oh no, just someone saying, please, say something other than like. It improves your vocabulary. It's something I use in the middle of stuff. I try not to do it often, but you could also not be a dick. It improves your friendship with other people when you're not a dick. But that's what's gonna happen. If you want to come into my stream and tell me how to speak, you can go fuck yourself. But like, you're tired like you really hard. Like, why are you whining like, dude? Yes, exactly. Is that why I have no friends? Possibly. Or that you have 420 in your name, Gumne. Haha! Yeah. When do you think we're gonna get computer blades? I guess I saw someone say complex. What's Cornix? Okay. Probably not for a while. I think we're likely not going to get computer blades for at least a year. Yeah, my problem is that my brain speaks a lot faster than my mouth. My brain processes information very fast. My mouth does not. Cool off the caps there, Stink. Cool off the caps. If you drink with a draw, you can improve the... I don't know, I got lost in that. Yeah, there we go. Bruh. How did your first Spice Plus roll go? Was it last weekend? It was the first episode of the new season for Star Trek Solus. We have episode 0 and episode 1 both out on YouTube, YouTube.com/The Spice Must Roll. We have both those episodes up there already, so. There, I no longer have 420 in my name. There we go. Renovate. I like all Paul's videos. Can't complain about my vocabulary either. All right, Stink. It's okay. It's okay if you want to be on cruise control. You can also do control and plus. You do control plus, it'll increase the size of your screen, so it'll be easier for you to read. I love watching Session Zeros. Yeah, Session 1 is a lot better than Session 0. We got a lot to do. Like with we learned a lot about our characters and such. What's your favorite ship in game to fly as a daily? Mine's happy with my Phoenix. The Cutlass Red is my daily right now. Surprisingly, I think Cutlass Black might be a little bit better, but I like the red because of the healing portions of the stuff. How about that Boreal Stalker coming at some point? Read? But Star Citizen players don't read. You know that, Paul. Well, I mean, that's one of the reasons why I wasn't so surprised by seeing the big salvage tool, and people are like, the big salvage tool. It's like, yeah, Big salvage tool, which has been talked about in multiple monthly reports, but because there's no pictures of it, people don't lose their minds. I love how you've been smuggling in one of the two ships with bright, high visibility flashing lights. People move out of the way if they think you're an ambulance. Yeah, Steve, Australian language cannot be used fully because YouTube hates it. Question, anything on the Connie rework implementations, Mantis, implementing Mantis aesthetics? Nothing like that, no. A new beginning? What does that mean, a wipe coming? No. I'll talk a little bit about it in a bit of a capsule. I'm still trying to kind of process this, because I have to go through all of the 317 notes and everything to kind of gather my thoughts on it, because it's a lot bigger than you think it is if you've just been casually playing the game and been like, oh, whatever, 317 is going to be a nothing patch because it doesn't have your favorite thing. So, they've added volumetric clouds to Hurston. They did a river polish pass. I'm just looking at the latest ones. They've got refueling. They've got, I think they allow you to transport ship components now. So you can put ship components into your inventory in your ship. I may be wrong on that one. Question, I heard Drake will have a new ground vehicle called the Mule. Is it real? There's a picture that's been floating around that's been called the Drake Mule. That's actually just an image of a Star Atlas vehicle. So that's not the Drake Mule. The Drake Mule has been mentioned as a name, but there has been no visual references. Quantum. Yeah, that's right. That's another one that's not been mentioned. Quantum is coming into the game. So the first implementation of Quantum is coming into the game. I have confirmed with Jake. I asked Jake this bluntly. I did it off of like the normal channels just because I wanted to make sure that I wasn't getting too cross-fed. But events are now automatic. Players still can't spawn them, but events are automatic, which means that events should be easier to implement going forward. So that means that they can just say, run event at this time in this location at this thing, go. And then they can just let it run, and they don't have to have someone who artificially starts it and stops it. So instead of like one or two huge changes like medical gameplay, there are hundreds of small things that make a huge difference. Yeah, that's basically what it is. They've retooled how weapons work, how FPS weapons are now are functioning differently. They've increased, especially with 317, with the oh gosh, what is it? With encounters, random NPC encounters. So the likelihood of you encountering other NPCs will now be variable based off of the location, based off of the quanta in that area. So instead of just always being picked up at Hurston, because fuck you, by security will show up at areas where there is high crime, either by players or by quanta. So they've basically started tracking freight, security, and piracy. So they have those three quanta that are in the game. And those will also be affecting, as well as players will be affecting, the prices of refuel, repair, and quantum fuel. So hydrogen, quantum, and repair are all going to be affected by player interactions. Salvage tool is not coming in this patch, it will be coming in next patch. I don't know if that's true or not. I've heard multiple people say that you can buy the small delivery boxes. I don't know if that's, yeah, again, I don't know if that's true or not. Yeah, you also have loot rarity and loot types. So why I'm calling it the beginning patch is because Zark on the last captain's table kept saying this was like a tease patch. We're almost there. It's the blue ball patch. We're getting stuff which is not the full implementation, but the beginning of the implementation of things. So I'm calling it a new beginning patch or the beginning patch because it feels like the beginning of the year. Like the stuff we're getting is going to be fleshed out as we go along this year and improved upon. Plus we're getting new content as well. Now, CIG has been very explicit. Like this refueling is the refueling we are getting for the time being. They will not be adding stuff to this refueling likely much, if at all, the rest of this year. We get it. We're done. That team is moving on to another project. So the blue ball patch. But I think the way of, for some people, it'll be a blue ball patch because it's like, I really want this and it's not quite there yet. But I like to think it more of as a exciting beginning patch because you're going to start to see a lot of changes in the small scale rather than the large scale. So when's the money shot? Almost likely the end of the year. We're probably going to get like the big stuff. CitizenCon patch, so like third quarter patch or the end of the year patch. Quantum control pricing, FPS, river FPS balance, ship transportable components, mining gadgets, selling rare items, Lorville Hospital, docking ports on more stations, finished Grimhex elevators, fixed Grimhex elevators, and fixed desync. Major fixes to desync. Question, what does progression look like for you in the PU when the game is closer to being done? What do you mean? I mean, the game is definitely progressing. I think I think a lot of people who follow Star Citizen and only follow Star Citizen could do for some perspective at times, because talk with an Elite Dangerous player about communication. Their relationship with FDev is downright abusive. Talk about like Cyberpunk 2077, one of the biggest releases of, was it 2020 or 2021? I can't remember when it came out. I think it was 2020, maybe 2021. I don't remember. They said it came out broken. They said they would fix it. And then they didn't do a major fix for a year. It took them a ton of time to actually go there and fix it. And they didn't tell anyone anything. They just were working on it. With Star Citizen, we are getting a lot of communication about what they're doing, what they're working on, and slow progression over the year. We're seeing it come out in time. So, and I think that's for me, progression is this game moving forward towards the final goal? And if it's moving towards the final goal in any way, shape, or form, that's progression. Could progression be faster? Yeah. Is progression super slow? I don't think so. Cyberpunk's still bugged, yeah. But it's better than it used to be. No, I like the blue ball patch. I hope that answers your question, Aaron. It's a little vague, but I mean, we're getting refueling. That's progress. It may not be what everyone needs all the time, but eventually it's going to be something we need to use quite frequently, likely. We're getting Quanta. And it's a small, limited release of Quanta, but it's the part of the game that it really helps flesh out the game long term. Did they release Cyberpunk multiplayer? I thought they haven't done that yet. As for more character creator options, I think we do have more character creator options in the latest patch too. The coffee vendor, yeah. When do you think will be our first pyro or exploration gameplay? Pyro. Because the problem is, and this is a discussion we've had multiple times on this channel, what's exploration gameplay? Because for me, exploration gameplay is mapping, it's cartography gameplay, and limited analysis gameplay. Go here, pick up this creature, pick up this flora or fauna, bring it back for analysis. Go here, map this area, come back and give us the data. That's what exploration gameplay is to me. I think that's the way you codify exploration into a gameplay mechanic. I don't think it's what people want. People want strange new worlds, beautiful alien women they can make love with. Like, it's not what's going to happen in Star Citizen, because exploration as a mechanic is fundamentally go find things. And sometimes you're not going to find stuff that's interesting. Sometimes you're just going to find empty space. But sometimes you'll find something interesting. It just depends on the roll of the dice and where you are. We will never have elite style exploration. Exploration is more discovering locations on planets and moons and caves, yeah. Has anything now made you think persistence and server meshing are likely this year? I think persistence is likely this year, but server meshing I'm still up in the air about. It really depends on when persistence gets put in. But the fact that they're adding more things to the back end, they're fixing some things in the back end, and like they're doing things like desync fixes, tells me that perhaps some of the team that are working on server meshing are starting to move over to more of those fixes, because they said very clearly that they wouldn't address a positional desync until they are finished with server meshing. When waypoints are commodities. Yeah, if the question is if exploration is when waypoints are commodities, then yeah, Pyro's coming out way before server meshing. I don't think we're going to see the full rework of quantum travel and the new star map until next year, maybe at the end of this year. Piracy. What's exploration gameplay? Piracy. Piracy is exploration gameplay. Exploring the inside of other people's ships to rescue that scared, lonely cargo. No, that's exploitation gameplay. That's right, Access. Drake exploration comes with a cargo refactor. Yeah. Are there any lists of which ships have fuel scoops? No, I don't think so. But I do know the ones that tend to have fuel scoops are, God, what are they? They're the ships that have very visible, like grills. Like I think the Hornet has a fuel scoop on the front. The Mustang Omega has a fuel scoop. Same with the Mustang Gamma. The Hornet I has the system, yeah. The Durer has the system. Exploration could include xenoarchaeology, like studying the Hadesians and other, or the Old Tavaran low culture. Yes, for sure. But in order to have the Hadesians and Old Tavaran culture, we need to have Hades or Cabal. Neither of which are going to come into the game anytime soon. Though Hades isn't too far away. We need to have Pyro, we're going to have the rest of that stuff. Potato, potato, pirates would say. I know it's supposed to be potato, potato, but potato, potato. The Valk has it. I think that does as well. I think it does, yeah. It's important to remember that scoops are not instant refuels. They're just trickle refuels. They'll give you a trickle of fuel back as you move. 100, 890, Omega, Idris, Carrick. Yeah. Will the jump points require a different fuel other than quantum? We don't know for sure. Last they said it would be quantum fuel. Oh my god, I want a public sub, but I have like 6 hours at the closest. Oh, that sucks. The thing about quantum drives, which is important to understand, or jump drives, which is important to understand, is that the lore and the actual physical item are very tied together. So all that a jump drive is effectively an add-on to a quantum drive. It's something you literally attach onto the top of a quantum drive to turn it into a jump drive. Because to open up a jump drive, you requires a specific frequency that's being sent out from a quantum drive to open up a jump point. That's how, what's his name? Nick Croshaw. How he discovered the first jump point was he was discovering an area known as the Nesso Triangle, which was this area around Neptune's moon of Nesso, where ships just kept disappearing with leaving no evidence that they had been destroyed, including several audio logs which were captured of the ships just vanishing mid-sentence. And what Nick Croshaw discovered was that each ship had a malfunctioning quantum drive of some way, shape, or form. And so he walked back all of their quantum drives to the points where they were, started testing quantum drives in the area until he discovered a jump point. A giant wormhole opened when he fucked with the quantum drive the right way. So he developed a system to attach to a quantum drive to mimic that same response from the quantum drive without screwing up the quantum drive itself, and then use that system, that experimental system, to fly his ship, the X7, into the quantum point to the other side and come back. And since then, that's essentially all that the jump drive is. It's just an addition to a quantum drive. It had a leaky edge. It had a quantum drive that was malfunctioning. Am I excited for Starfield? You bet your bottom butt I am. I'm going to start doing some more videos on Starfield as well, especially the lore, but they haven't released a ton, so. Stable X for wormhole stability? Yes. Which ships are going to have refueling arms besides the Gladius on 317? Did they rework all ships to have refueling arm? I think every ship has a refueling port, if that's what you mean. The refueling arm is on the Starfarer. Question, do you think it'll be possible to ever add playable musical instruments? I'd hope so. I mean, that would be one of my big requests, is when they get time to, which, forever, to create MIDI controlled instruments in game would be cool. Using MIDI to control instruments would allow for players to effectively wire up drums or Guitar Hero controllers, that kind of thing, to be able to play instruments the way they're supposed to, or program in an instrument and do a script for it. Desync would have to be fixed first. Yeah, I mean that's they're working on that right now. The Starfield has a release date. Yes, it comes out in November of this year. Didn't Loto have playable music instruments? It did, and several other, I think even, oh gosh. So Lord of the Rings Online had it, but I think even some Final Fantasy, Final Fantasy 15 or 14, I can't remember which one has it. It has it as well. Galaxy's had it, yeah. There's a piano on Connie Phoenix where if you play it, it plays the Moonlit Sonata. What if Final Fantasy 14? Yeah. Warframe has instruments, yeah. But you can't really play it. Any chance of extinct ancient cultures in use to exist in Pyro? No, probably not. Though you may find Hadesian artifacts, like they showed off in the review. There may be other artifacts that you can be found. Now, it sounds like they're going to be doing some sort of archaeology because they're going to have ruined homesteads. So you'll be going to old homesteads possibly to retrieve lost artifacts or personal effects. Pyro is not new. Pyro has been has had human like presence for a very long time. Let me look up the actual details. It was discovered in 2469. That's when they found the jump point, and they first visited in 2493. To give you context, that's before the First Tavaran War. The First Tavaran War was in 2542, I believe. We'll check. 2542. So that was over 50 years before the First Tavaran War. And the First Tavaran War was 500 or 400 years ago. Pyro has been around a very long time, hundreds of years. Pyro has been discovered longer, like there has been human activity in Pyro longer than there has been Pyro has had more human activity, I want to say longer than the Roman Empire. Yeah, about almost as long as the Roman Empire existed. That's how long humans have been in Pyro. So, like, to put it in perspective, put the full thing, 2490, 89, I believe. 2493. So it's been since Columbus first fucked up into America to today has been 530 years. And since the Pyro jump point was first discovered, my nose. Minus. No. Okay, yeah. It's been 400 and a little under 500 years. It's around the same time. To give you the context. Rome isn't Rome without Rome. I'm talking about the Roman Empire, Omega. The Roman Empire lasted from about 27 BC to 476 AD is the general context. Pyro has been around longer than the United States has been a country so far. In terms of Pyro and lore. And you can imagine just how much history has existed. Isn't there a vigilante group in Pyro called the Overlords? And they do. And do they control territory in Pyro? They do. The Overlords do control territory in Pyro. We don't know exactly what territory or to what extent, but we do know that they're a small group of dedicated, very, very personal. Like, they don't talk to outsiders a lot, and they just fuck with all the gangs. There's a rumor that they're actually advocacy agents. Will we be getting Nyx and Pyro at the same time? That is my theory. I have a big theory that Pyro and Nyx will come out at the same time because Nyx, the biggest issues that CIG seems to be having with is stations and landing zones. Areas they have to build from scratch to kind of meet the feel, but it's bespoke. They're building assets that can be sort of copied, but they're brand new assets. The advantage of that is that they can just copy a lot of that into Nyx if they wanted to. And Nyx already has a landing zone, which has been constantly updated, which is Levski. Delamar and Levski, Delamar is the planetoid, Levski is the landing zone, has been in the game for a very long time. It was actually removed from game because it's going back to Nyx. So Nyx is effectively just that with some other sprinklings. So I do believe that CIG, by the end of the year, if they have server meshing done, would possibly have both Pyro and Nyx done. Because the issue that CIG is facing is not the completion of assets for these systems. It's the background tools, server meshing, to actually make it function. Will there be gang killers? Fucking Sandy Claus, don't you? I can't believe. So someone asked that question, okay, to the lore guys. They only come out once a quarter. The lore guys only come out once a quarter to answer questions from the CIG community. And someone asked if they're gang colors. They even mentioned Ninetales. Well, the Ninetales have gang colors. It's like, done. God damn it. It's in the game right now. You can go play the game and see the gang colors. They have ships with the colors. They have armor with the colors. Omega. I get what you're trying to do. I get what you're saying. But no one considers the Byzantines the extension of the Roman Empire. They called themselves the Romans, but they didn't have Rome. But will they have a favorite color? Yeah, Ninetales, Dusters, and Xenothreat all have their own colors already. Yeah, they've actually changed the colors. The Ninetales at one point were yellow and black. And then they changed that to the Nova Riders. And then they changed them to red at one point. The Ninetales were red. The Nines armor was like a red color at one point too. And then they've gone to the new teal and... it's like teal and gray or teal and purple. So... Can we poop while going through the jump point? No. Yeah, you can wear a duster. You just can't wear a duster over your armor. They have dusters in game right now. I keep itching my nose. The Ninetales are Roman now. Teal and red, thank you. Sea green, thank you. The point is that like asking, will there be gang colors when there have been gang colors since 2.0? Like, yeah, they're already in the game, and yes, they will continue. Gang colors is becoming the new poop. Thank you for your $50 dues there, Colonel Mortimer. I appreciate it. For those, fun fact, for $50 dues, it's converts to 1 penny in American money. No, it's slightly better than the ruble. Thank you, my man. Thank you. Does Tatooine belong to the Pikes? Now you're asking the real question. It's like a bantha. Hey, Loki. Nine Hills missing their purple though? They are. Yeah, that'll probably change. Gang's poop. If your blue gang tunic is now red, you would have been shot, for example. What color do gangs poop? My fucking community, man. My fucking community. Back to the topic at hand with 317. I think 317 is going to be a major patch. It's going to be a major patch, and it's going to be a beginning patch. And for those of you who don't realize, a lot of your stuff is going to get much rarer than it is now. And CIG has basically been upfront about it. They've been very upfront. Will there be animal mounts for players? Like a bantha? No. I don't know. I don't think they've mentioned anything like that. It'd be cool to have that. That's like, there's not even animals in game yet. BMM fourth quarter, I think that's the goal. It'll probably won't make it until like the .1 or the .x patch of that patch, whatever it is, the fourth quarter patch. You've just started playing Scum to get an idea about the poop mechanics. If they only tell us what's going to get rare, though, they won't tell you that, because there'll be a run on this thing, the things that are rare. Oh yeah, because that's another question. People are like, August Dunlow orbital docks? I honestly think someone screwed up somewhere. Because August Dunlow, for those you know, is supposed to be the station in at Orison. It is the station at Orison. Now they're saying there's docks in orbit, which is August Dunlow, which doesn't make any sense. I think Jared will probably come out and correct that at some point. I don't think it was Jared's fault. I think he was handed that, or he was given the information and he just kind of read off what it was saying. Could the whole A be part of 317.1? I assume that the whole A is going to be part of 317. I'd imagine that the Scorpius is going to be 317.1. What's the lore behind Invictus Leak? I'll go over that here in a moment. No, they definitely need ship-to-station docking for Dunlow. The problem is that if you look at the station, at one point they look out the window and it's the night sky. It's like you can see like Daymar in the distance. Makes me wonder what 318 will have in store if 317 is coming out with much more content rich than we thought. Even more? 318, you got to remember that the reason why we have content poor patches has more to do with the back end technology is not being finished or being able to support the stuff they want to do. Running into battle upon a space whale earns respect only if you're Ezra Bridger. Only for Ezra Bridger. Spoilers. Yeah, because 317.1 is going to be the Invictus patch. Question, do you think any exploration gameplay will come with pyro? Did you ask the same question? Someone else asked that. Do you think exploration game could come with pyro? No. I mean, it depends on what your definition of exploration gameplay is. Will you be able to find stuff? Yes. Will you be able to find stuff you've never seen before? Yes. Will there be missions for you to go out and find stuff? Maybe. We have investigation missions now, which are, I guess, exploration missions. We even have, like, PodSat deployment missions, which I guess are exploration missions. Hole skins? Maybe. Good Rebels reference. Hey. Question, off topic, but do you think the Anvil will get a starter more than the other manufacturers? Like a more generalized starter with a bit of everything? I mean, Anvil definitely won't get a generalized starter. They'd get a, they already have a starter, which is the Arrow. I doubt they're going to get anything smaller than that. Do you think 317 will have a referral bonus, or will it be 317.1? I think both will, probably. CIG is pretty good on that one. The key with the one thing I would say about CIG's marketing is they tend to be stingy with the ships. And I get it, you know, you want to sell ships, but if you are less stingy with the ships, or you give people discount codes for being loyal customers or anything like that, people will still buy shit. Like, they'll probably buy more than they realize, because a lot of people like being they like being treated like a person, and people who treat them well will go out of their way to show their appreciation for being treated like an adult and not like a cash machine. That's one of my biggest problems with CIG, is that they feel very stingy in their approaches to marketing, when they don't have to, because a digital ship doesn't cost them money, and it's not lost money, because if they're being just giving away a bunch of stuff like that, people will buy it. Let me give you an example. Pretty much every new ship that comes out, at some point, CIG has given one of those to me for a giveaway over the last 2 years. But I've also purchased like 3 or 4 of them to give away myself. So I must always have stuff to give away for them, for y'all that's not from them, that gives them money. So, anyways, back off of that. Oh, the Pisces. Yeah, the Pisces is a good one too. Yeah. I didn't think about the Pisces. The Pisces is a good starter ship. Someone asked about the story behind Invictus. It's actually pretty funny. Sorry, I'm like 30 minutes behind. What I meant by progressing was characters leveling, where there are no skills currently to increase. So what progress do we see as our characters grow? I'm glad you asked, Aaron, because that's one of those things that I've been very interested in. And I think I'm probably one of the most well-versed person when it comes to this specific aspect. Reputation. Reputation is your leveling system. But unlike a strict leveling system where you go kill 50 boars and whatever, like, you go and do missions for a faction and build up your reputation, earning more money and more reputation with that faction, but that will then decrease your reputation with other factions in that same system or other systems. So to get progression, you are slowly working through and grinding out missions, and a lot of those places will have mission givers, and those mission givers will have breaks. So you will go, like, say, you do this mission and then you get to the next reputation level with Wallace Klim. Well, you go talk with Wallace Klim. After a certain point, he says, hey, let's go hang out. And you go to a bar, you drink a little bit. He talks a little bit about the jobs, and then goes, I got a new job for you. I think you're up for it. You know, here you go. Boom, bam. Then you go off, you go do your missions for him, you complete it, then you get the new level of missions you can do, continue to do that. Then another mission, then another break, he comes, calls you. Then, you know, he tells you about his wife, who's whatever. Like, think GTA. You know, how GTA does those, like, you slowly build up reputation. Or Mass Effect, where you slowly earn affinity with your companions. That's sort of what you'll have. But every time you do something like that, you're going to burn bridges with other characters. So if you're working with Klim, you may never work with the 2 security guards at Crusader, because they won't give you the time of day. You won't even be able to land at Crusader, likely. So that's really what progression is in Star Citizen. It's a combination of money and reputation. Now let's talk about, Sandy Claus wants to ask about the Invictus question. The quick and simple version of Invictus is, during the First Tevarin War, humanity was caught with its pants down because Tevarin attacked first. So humanity was not ready for war. So they had to do a giant recruitment drive to get people into the armed services. And it was a logistical nightmare to try to get everyone trained up on their home planets and then shipped to the front. So what they did was they set a time, and every single person across the UNE at the time, it was UPE at the time, who was signed up to fight, would leave on the same day. So that way they could get transports out to those locations. They'd pick up all of the recruits and bring them back to Mars. And Mars is where they had the first forges. And a forge is what the UPE and the UNE calls their training bases. And there they would bring them all there, they would pull them all out, and then they would train. So Invictus is the celebration of those recruits leaving to go to the First Tevarin War. And then when they came back, they usually would come back after the end of training around the same time, because training takes about a year in the Navy and the Army and the Marines. Marines a little bit more than that, but your basics is done. And so Invictus is also the celebration of new recruits becoming soldiers, getting their first rank when they leave to join for more specialized training. So that's what it's all about. Twitch crashed. No, it should be fine. Silky, thank you so much for that. Imperium Galactic Survival had something like what mission? Would you use the large salvage tool on a Hurston statue? Yes, I would. Of course I would. It's not really conscription, because I don't think they had conscription in the UPE, UNE, or the UNE, the UPE, or the UEE. There's no such thing as conscription, because military service is voluntary. So you'd have to volunteer to fight. It's just when you're staring down the barrel of an hostile alien empire you barely know, invading many systems, that you currently control and occupying those territories, it inspires a lot of people to go fight. Voluntary conscripted? Yeah. Okay, Escalion. Okay. Service guarantees citizenship. That's the whole point. Like, you join the military for 2 reasons. Either A, you're a criminal, and you either get a choice of joining the service or going to prison, or B, you sign up so you can get citizenship. Yeah, there's no drafting in the UPE, as far as I understand. They've never had a draft, because since the UNE, since the very first human government, citizenship has always been earnable through military service. So when you have a situation where citizenship is earnable through your service, having a draft doesn't work the same way, because then people would serve and possibly not get citizenship because they were drafted. So, would you like to know more? Is there any military academy in lore that can join for citizenship? Or for citizenship? Yeah, there's one on MacArthur. MacArthur has a military academy. I think there's a couple of military academies that I've talked about. I think there's one in Killian, one in MacArthur. I want to say there's one on Earth, and there's definitely one on Mars. So. Do you think how fucked up the measures were, they would make military service mandatory or instead of voluntary? No, it was always voluntary, even under the measures. They just made it more valuable. If you became if you voluntarily joined the military under the measures, you got a lot of perks. They made sure you got a lot of perks. For good and bad reasons. It's important to remember that the first measure, Ivar, was a soldier. That's how he got to the rank of how he became the Imperator. He was a captain in the EU military. No joke. EU rifleman. Old Earth EU. And he got a battlefield command because the general, I think the colonel, and several other of the commanding officers who were in charge of the invasion of Idris IV fucking died. So it was down to Ivar. He was the highest ranking officer, and he's the one who just like took the bull by the horns and did what he had to do to make everything work and save the invasion. He became a hero. And as a result, he got a promotion to colonel. And he actually planned and led the invasion of the home planet of the Tavaran, captured the leader, the Tavaran warlord, and brought him before the Senate at the end of the war. So he became a general by the end of the war. And then he was elected to the position of High General, which is, everyone fucks up because I've heard this multiple times. Well, you don't become a general, go from captain to general in 4 years. You do, and it's an elected position. I don't know the details of the UPE High General position, but I assume you have to be in the military, and I assume you have to have some sort of position itself. So. I'm doing my part. Yeah, I know. I've watched the movie too. You're good, Ken. MCRN, nice. I want to join the military. I want to join the Mars Academy. It's where the first forges were. I imagine that if Mars had forges, then it would, the forge world of Mars, then they definitely have an academy by now. You might be in Russia at the moment. Thank God I'm not. Yeah, true. Go from soldier to admiral in 4 years. You might be in Russia. Depends on whose pockets you greased. A citizen has the courage to make the safety of the human race the personal responsibility. Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a reason why people like the book and hate the movies, or like the movies and hate the book, or are okay about the book, is that the book is like aspirational. It's like, this is the way things should be. And the movie is like, this is fascism. This is something you shouldn't like. We're taking young people who are just in love and breaking them and killing them over nothing. That's something that they started themselves. Like the movie is like overtly anti-fascist. It's a parody. It's a commentary similar to RoboCop, which is the same director, which was a commentary on American, hyper-capitalism and Americana. But that also had explosions and cool CGI effects and cool quippy quotes, so people liked it. We'll be able to retrieve our ships stored in planets from low orbit stations. I know we need to fly. Last I heard, that's not the case anymore. It may still be the case. I don't know though. I think your inventory are now separated from stations to planets. This is not a pleasant story, yeah. I would say that the book treats it more like a libertarian ideal, because Heinlein was, Robert A. Heinlein was very, very much an, a libertarian in his beliefs. I guess I would say a militaristic libertarian. All you have to do is watch read "The Moon is a Harsh Mistress" to see that. But it's, but what's his name? The director of the movie is very much more harsher on it. It's weird to me that people don't see or get the social commentary in RoboCop and Starship Troopers. It's not weird because most people don't really care because it's a dumb action movie. And so, like, you can turn your brain off and not have to worry about it. Verhoeven, yeah, Verhoeven. It's one of those things where you can turn your brain off and not have to worry about it. Like, you can enjoy it for being a dumb action movie because they're both dumb action movies, and that's fine. But you can also read into it a little bit deeper. That's why Verhoeven was a genius before his time. If Verhoeven was still making the kind of films like RoboCop and Starship Troopers today, he would be considered a fucking, like, masterclass. Dude would be hailed from the fucking, like, rooftops to make a popcorn action Marvel-esque blockbuster that also had political overtones that was subtle enough that most people wouldn't get it, but if you understood, you could get it as well. Which is the first alien race we'll most likely see in game someday? Tavaran or Vanduul. Vanduul are definitely the first alien race we're going to see. It's followed closely by either the Tavaran or the Xi'an, and I think the Banu are going to closely later. More lore in the Bremen Defense Force soon? Hopefully. There's been a lot of cool stuff. There's a lot of people who wouldn't like it if they found out there was deeper meaning. It's okay. Like, that's the thing about Verhoeven movies that like, even like Total Recall has that a little bit. The Verhoeven movies don't make you feel stupid for not getting the social commentary. They make you feel, hey, this is a dumb action movie. I enjoy it. And anybody who watches a Verhoeven movie and goes, there's a subtle political satire in it, is an asshole. Because most people who watch Verhoeven movies, especially those Verhoeven movies, are like, he made a funny quip line and he shot the dude in the dick. Like, that's a Verhoeven movie. That's fucking amazing. That's great. But those same people could also be like, hey, there's lots of social commentary in this. Just in case you don't know. Spec Ops: The Line, yeah. All water needs is currents now, and fish, yes. More subtle than what Johnson did with Star Wars, you're saying? All right, this is going to be a very controversial take, and it's going to make a lot of people be very angry. But I'm going to say something that might cause people to be gravely upset. And understand that my opinions on this can be separated from your opinions on this, and we can all be okay. But I don't think the Rian Johnson Star Wars was that bad. I think the reason why Rian Johnson Star Wars failed as a movie at the end was that it refused to challenge the status quo. That it decided to make everything about failure and about letting go of the past, and then decided to say, actually, you know what? That's all important. Let's go back really quickly so that we can just make sure that everything they learned is just pointless now. Because we gotta go for a third movie and we don't know where we're going with this. Like, I don't mind that. That's not a bad take. It's just, it wasn't fully executed, which is its problem. I don't have a problem with Luke being a curmudgeonly old asshole. I have no problem with Ben Swallow. I have no problem with like Rose and the crazy side quest of weirdness. It's like, it's Star Wars. All Star Wars movies are bad. Like, no Star Wars movies have ever been good. They just have a kind of a style and a theme. Yeah, it felt like an anime thriller. It felt like a beach episode. Like a beach episode with a message, which is like, that's why it's even more frustrating. It's like you're getting content which is cool and interesting, but you know it's going to be thrown away by the next episode. Hey, Fried Industry. Jar Jar Lover. Bruin Johnson. I like how Twitch chat is like, yeah, I like the new Star Wars movies, and and YouTube chat is like, traitor, burn the heretic. That's one of the most generous opinions I've heard on Disney Star. No, Disney fucked up. Like, I don't think it's John Star Wars. It's not John Star Wars. It's not Rian Johnson's, Rian Johnson's. It's not his fault. It's not, it's somewhat fault of J.J. Abrams. It's the fact that they didn't go into it with any plan. Like, Lucas had a plan for all three movies. He didn't know he was going to make them, but he did have plans, basic ideas sketched out to where the movies would go. He wasn't just making shit up on the fly. And every movie flows because you get that basic gist. But the new Star Wars was just done. They had no idea what the fuck they were doing, and they just decided to just remake Star Wars. I don't think the prequels were good. I think the prequels were better because the first one was very much Lucas not knowing what the fuck he was doing because he hadn't done this in a while. And so he basically did the first draft and phoned it in, and everyone was like, that was bad. And so finally he realized, yeah, I should probably have more people look at this. And so he tried to dial it in a little bit better. And I think the second one is better and worse because of that. Episode 2, and then episode 3 is wow. It's like he got what he was trying to do with episode 3. Episode 3 is one of the best Star Wars movies ever made because it's a tragedy, because it's well paced, the characters are believable. You get to see fucking Hayden Christensen act like he was allowed to act in episode 3. Rogue One was good, except for, I think Rogue One was good because the ending was good. I feel like they could have tightened up the beginning a little bit. It's a Greek tragedy. Yeah, it's exactly a Greek tragedy. And yeah, the thing that really redeems episode 3 even more is the Clone Wars, which is why I think it's the real tragedy is that we didn't have Dave Filoni as a writer for the new Disney Star Wars movies. Even if he was just a writer or like the series runner alongside J.J. Abrams, because J.J. Abrams obviously didn't want to do it. He always wanted to do Star Wars. Once he did Star Wars, he's like, I don't want to fucking be responsible for this shit. It would have been nice to have him, because Filoni understood the material. He worked with Lucas. He was closely involved with it. I know a lot of people put shit on Kathleen Kennedy for it, but like, you gotta understand, Kathleen Kennedy's just a producer. Like, she's also worked with George Lucas and those and the kind of things in the past. But her job is to be more like big picture stuff, like marketing and other kind of things like that. And sometimes producers are very keenly involved in storyboarding and stuff like that. But if Kathleen Kennedy worked with George Lucas, it means that she's used to like letting the creatives be creative, which was a mistake in hindsight, but she's not necessarily bad. She also is the one who greenlit the Clone Wars series and Rebels, which are probably some of the best Star Wars media out there. And even Mandalorian, which is arguably the best Star Wars media out there. So, at least the first season. I really hope if they make the Star Wars series, they make use of Zahn. Timothy Zahn, the writer? Yeah. At least it's a good character concept there. Oh yeah, Obi-Wan too. Yeah, Penguin Lord, I would agree with that. Dave Filoni is the best thing to ever to happen to Star Wars, even better than George Lucas. Cam and I actually have this conversation a lot because she's much more of a Star Wars fan than I am. But the conversation we have often is that George Lucas is the kind of guy you give a sketchbook, some colored crayons, and a room. And you just have him sketch out ideas, scenes, characters, names. You hook him up with an artist who starts doing concept art. You have him doing that for like years. And then you pull that stuff out and you give it to the people who can actually like put that together and make it a good movie. And then have George involved, but not have George in charge. That's why the first Star Wars did so well. Because there's a lot of shit that George wanted to do that was stupid and got cut because it didn't make any sense. But because he wasn't in like controlling his own destiny, that's why it was allowed to do that. Like everyone says, a lot of film school people will say that Star Wars was saved in the edit. Because of his wife and the other editors who were working on the original Star Wars, they really fixed it. And then, of course, episode 5, the Empire, I don't think he was even directing it. It was like written and directed by a completely different person. He was involved, but he was involved as an idea guy. And obviously, it's one of the best Star Wars ever made. But then he returned back to the director chair in Jedi, or writers in Jedi. And you can tell that Return of the Jedi it has some of the Lucas problem. Sorry about that too. We got into sidetracked. Is this game worth it? Depends too. What are you looking for in game? Thoughts on Star Trek Discovery? I've only seen the first 2 seasons. I'm okay with it. It's Star Trek for the new generation. Yeah. Ivan Kershner, yes. Sounds a lot like Chris Roberts, yeah, but no one was there to stop him. Yeah, Chris Roberts at least has Aaron Roberts to step in and other people to be like, Chris, it's fucking dumb. like it's a great idea, but just think about that for 5 minutes. I know more than 43 of the 100 watching likes this video. Come on, citizen support. Okay, there we go. Fun FPS, super open world, and fun to play with friends. That's pretty good. Star Citizen is fairly up there. I will say that the disadvantage of Star Citizen is that it's still in early access. It's still early in development. Still. If you can handle the fact that this has been 10 years and Star Citizen is still in early access. But it's fun. You can play with friends. It's an open world. There's FPS. There's also ship-based combat. That's the main focus. There's definitely FPS combat. The amount of FPS is limited. It's not like there's a couple of missions you can do it, but it's an open world, so you can run around and shoot things if you wanted to. I wouldn't go into this expecting Tarkov or DayZ or like a looter shooter. I'd go into it saying this is a sandbox that's evolving, that currently has a lot of bugs into it. I would say if you're just a dedicated FPS person, if you're looking at this game for $45, it may not be worth it right now. You probably have about 15 to 20 hours. But if you already have friends who are playing it, yeah, it might be worth it. It's important to remember that Star Citizen, as it develops, is going to be increasing in price. This game will eventually be $60 on release. So if you're okay with that, and when this game has more stuff fleshed out, yeah, that's fine. But what you may not know is that Star Citizen has a dedicated FPS combat arena called Star Marine. No one plays it really, but friends can go there and play it. And they're working on a Battlefield-esque experience called Theaters of War. That's the working title, which should be coming out in the next couple of years. So Star Citizen's a game of, it's fun now, but not a game I'd main for a while. If that makes sense. I think it's worth the $40. I think it's worth, personally, I think it's worth more than $40. There's a lot of content in Star Citizen. But if you're just interested in FPS, it might be a little stretching it. It's cheaper than a $60 AAA game. So do I think I should buy it before it goes up? Before it goes releases? I'm saying I think that if you are hesitant to purchase it because you don't know about it, definitely watch some videos. Talk with friends who might be interested in playing it, because this may not be a game for you if your friends aren't willing to play it. And there are games that or this game does have free-to-play weekends and weeks. We're likely going to have one in May, and then that's a couple months away. But if you're willing to hold off on it, then May you can come back in May and try out for free if it comes out. Hey, Astro, do you think the Banu Merchantman will be a capital ship? Oh, 100%. It's the size of an 890, and an 890 is a capital ship, so yeah. I would say the experience is better with friends, so if you've got people who want to play with you, be good. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it, too. It's like a big Lego set with bricks being put down as a base plate. Yep. I'm really interested in how well the space exploration is. I've seen a lot, and I've talked a lot about it with friends, but they want me to play before they buy it. So I'd wait until May. Try it when there's a free to play weekend or week in May. I think it's a good time to try it out there. The exploration is limited, but I mean exploration of just. Let me put it this way: every planet in Star Citizen right now has the equivalent landmass of the entirety of Russia. They're scaled, so like everything is scaled down a little bit. But in reality, like the actual landmass of a planet is about the same as the entire landmass of Russia. And the moons are about the same landmass as India. And you can walk all the way around them. You can go anywhere on them. There's no loading screens. There's no dedicated, like they're huge. The maps are fucking massive. So if you just want to explore and walk around and see cool vistas and see shit, you can do that. There's not a lot of money to be made in it right now. There's no like base building and stuff like that. That's going to come in later. But yeah, there's definitely that. Bar crawls across 4 planetary systems make it worth every penny, of course. Yes. I watched YouTube for videos for almost 2 months before I bought a package and ended up with spending 150 after the initial 445. Yeah. So I would say don't go into peer pressure. Wait until the free flight. That's what I'd say. How is it as far as a role-playing game? There's some people who role-play, but it's mostly, I would say it's more similar to a sandbox MMO than it is a role-playing game. There's no like stats. It's all based off of how good you are, personally, as a player. How's it going? By the way, what's going to be the best system and why is it Magnus? Because Magnus did nothing wrong. Yeah, what's up? Someone else asked another question. I've been working on getting my VR settings correct. Any for the new patch? Any tips? I haven't really tried VR. I know there's some open VR software you can use with it. I definitely fuck around with your settings in game right now. I try it. I tried to get the open VR working with Star Citizen now to see if it can work. What's the closest game I could compare it to? Star Wars Galaxies. It's like Tarkov and Star Wars Galaxies had a baby. Throw a little bit of like Pulsar: The Lost Colony in there for multi-crew stuff. The RPG elements will come in the form of reputation. Yeah, that's true. But I mean, even then, the RPG elements with reputation is more binary. It's more who you're working with and who you're pissing off, rather than like, it's more choice rather than like stats and that kind of thing. The VR software is going to stop working when the game switches to Vulkan. Oh, will it? That sucks. Is there nothing that you can do with OpenVR with that? Questions. Any planets in lore that we can see in game, like Klendathu from Starship Troopers? Have you heard of our Lord and Savior, the entire Lear system, aka Space Australia? Yes, there will. When do you think they're going to fit the airlock on the Prospector, fix the airlock, make it wide enough you can actually stand in it like you can in the Freelancer? Probably after they go through a bunch of the other stuff that they're trying to do fix right now. Big E was just a bad dad to Magnus. Well, Magnus did nothing wrong. Works with Star Citizen too because the UEE abandoned Magnus after forcibly stunting its economic growth, and then left them to die. Left the people of Magnus to suffer. So yeah, in this way, in that way, Magnus did nothing wrong. The Empire, the big E was a bad caretaker. It's a bad dad. Yeah, when I say Star Wars Galaxies, most people don't know how far back that is. That was 22 years ago. And there are rumored 9 Picoballs. Yes, there are 9 Picoballs that you can find, which are very, very rare, and they can earn you a lot of money. Is there a one-stop shop to learn about Star Citizen lore? If not, where should I start? Hi, Paul. My name is Paul Berserker 01 Batman Shelley. I do a thing called Galactic Historian. That is where a Galactic Historian is a playlist you can find on my YouTube channel. Go there, click the YouTube channel, and you can watch all of these sorts of things about Star Citizen. I have like 3 or 4 different primers, including a very brief primer, a 4 or 5 episode primer, which goes into more details, and lots of other dedicated stuff. If that doesn't wet your whistle enough, you can go to starcitizen.tools and go through the wiki. If that's not enough for you, you can go to the Galactopedia on CIG's own website, where they have a bunch of information about all sorts of lore. Sorry. Empire Democratic Republics. Star Citizen? Star Citizen's a oligarchical republic. They have elections, but you have to be a citizen, and the only way you can get citizenship is through service to the state. So no one is born a citizen in the Star Citizen universe. The easiest way to gain citizenship is, of course, join the military, but you can also do so with service like being a diplomat or giving a lot of money to the state or that kind of thing. Starfield single player like Fallout. I don't know if it has multiplayer. Yeah, it might have multiplayer. I have a feeling that it has probably maybe a co-op version. Yeah, and Starfield likely won't have flyable ships. We'll see. I have a theory that Starfield will have sort of on-rails flyable ships, similar to, like, say, the Jump to Lightspeed expansion from Star Wars Galaxies. Its engine is very small. Where's the spaceships? The spaceships are in the game. This is a AMA, where we just kind of talk about the spaceships. I mean, for your preference, for the Empire, or we shall vote. My preference? Like, personal political preference, or in the game? Because I would say it's much more for the Empire in the game. We're using 40K references. The old UEE, United Empire of Earth, is much more for the Empire, for the Emperor. And the new UEE is much more for the greater good. Shava. Yeah. Define AMA, ask me anything. It's just a kind of a Q&A thing. You can ask me anything, usually about Star Citizen, but we can talk about anything there. Oh, what type of stories do I like? Oh, I listen, so I do Warhammer 40K, obviously from that reference. Star Trek, Star Wars, Halo is a big lore thing that's actually got me into, like, extended lore. Fallout, a little bit of Skyrim, or, you know, Elder Scrolls series. Those sorts of things. New UEE or Tau. Old UEE is Imperium. Yes. I've been watching Picard. I only watched the first episode of season 2. I gotta go back and watch it a little bit more. And I knew the new Halo stuff came out, so I have to sit down and make Cam watch it tomorrow. I feel like the reality of the current UEE is for the greater corporate good. Yeah, but that's not what their advertising. Their advertising is there's always a place in the fleet, you know? Join today, help your fellow man, protect people, help people, stop bad guys, do the things for the betterment of all mankind. That's as they said during the revolution, for a kinder and gentler humanity during the anti-Mezzo revolution. Rate Star Citizen on a scale of 1 to 10. As it stands right now, compared to what is the question? Because it's a really complicated question. Because as it stands right now, compared to modern AAA games, I would say it's a solid 6 or 7. As it stands right now, compared to most, you see a raid? Oh, you didn't get a raid. Zero! Hey, Zero. You got me in the lore talk, buddy. Oh yeah, it's the Raid Shadow Legends. You can still download it. I can still make some money. I'll remove it at some point. That's the stream elements thing. I gotta turn that off. In terms of like compared to other early access games, I'd say it's more like an 8 or a 9, simply because of it's consistently updated and consistently better every patch. How you doing, Zero? I'm sorry you got me in all of these other things. How you doing, buddy? Do I think the UE became less imperial because they were forced to, aka they couldn't keep expanding, so they needed to help colonizing, let's set up Stanton, for example? So the real thing that changed the imperial nature of UEE was the death of the Mezzers. When the Mezzers fell in the late 28th century, there was no going back to the imperialistic kind of ideals of the Mezzers. It just didn't work, and it was bad for business. The new UEE is much more neoliberal, much more that kind of more like modern globalist concepts of like expanding and you know, using resources and letting corporations kind of control things. That's very much the kind of new mentality of the UEE. Service guaranteed citizenship. Yeah. What about Space Texas? I want to hear more. I want to know about New Texas. Is the thing. Space Tomato video it wasn't enough. It's that Texas pride. Hello, fellow Texan. Okay, I'm sorry. I gotta do this the right way, especially with Zero here. Hello, fellow Texan. How are you today? New Texas, hell yeah, brother.
I'm just an old-fashioned cowboy.
There we go. Yeah, more Biden, less Trump. In terms of like political alignment of the UEE. Winter is coming. The real question is, will they have caramel macchiato or the coffee shop? That is a good question. The real question is, why did they put coffee in, but not pizza? Compared to Elite, Star Citizen or New Texas? Have you paid your Pyro land taxes? Am I required to wear that while I teach? Only if I teach while carrying a shotgun. That's the requirement for teaching with the shotgun in hand. Which is like, you know, only during special occasions like Thursdays. A place there's someone was asking like in terms of like perspective of Star Citizen, like the current UEE versus the old UEE. So New Texas is AKA the Bremen system. And I will say the Bremen system is very important because of its position in... Thank you, my Stunner, for all those gift subs. Let's do some more beers in there. Lots of beers. Texas Space Navy. Yeah, he's also a content creator. Feels really good too. What did I say? Star Citizen is going to actually go somewhere, or will it be another No Man's Sky situation? No Man's Sky's doing really well right now. It is definitely going somewhere. I would say yes, it is going somewhere, and it is a No Man's Sky situation in the sense that it's going to be growing and growing and growing with new content. I think that Star Citizen is probably 3 years from a game that is going to catch the attention of the majority of gaming public. It's kind of straining at the starting gate right now for that. It's more people are paying attention to it, more people are seeing it exist, more people are seeing that it's fun, it has aspects that are fun. But as Zero, who I don't know if he's still here now, he's probably passed out, can attest to, as my fellow Star Citizen streamer, content creator Zero State can tell you, is Star Citizen can be unforgiving at the best of times. Do you reckon they'll have any weeaboo equivalents for the old Earth civilizations? I feel like that's like top hats. It sounded like a teaboo. Teaboo. Teaboos are actually things in the internet. I'm ashamed I know about teaboos and freedom boos and veraboos. What's better, No Man's Sky or Star Citizen? They're not really comparable. Look at it this way. What's a better shooter, Call of Duty or Arma? No one would compare those two because they're completely different types. Or what's better, Halo or Arma? They're completely different games in terms of styles. Yes, they're both shooters, but they're not in the same way, shape, or form. No Man's Sky is a good survival game that's set in space, but it's no way a sim. Star Citizen is more sim than survival, but it does have survival elements. If I say Arma, you can't tell tomato. It's brutally beautiful. Brutally beautiful is how I describe. Star Citizen's a bastard. Star Citizen is a game that is a son of a bitch. And sometimes you go, son of a bitch. And sometimes you go, son of a, and you throw it. That's the difference. Do I think Star Citizen will have an entire star map in a game one day, even with procedural generation? It seems like we're years and years away. It's important to remember, Paul, that the reason why we have less content, we don't have other systems in game right now, has not to do with the fact of building systems. It has to do with the back end functioning. And they are actively working on that and are trying to get it in by the end of the year. They may not succeed, but at the very least, it'll succeed in the next year and a half. In the meantime, the team that makes systems have been making 2 systems. They're pretty much done with Pyro, and they're working their way on Nyx. The only thing that they have to work on Pyro are more of the space stations and other things like that. And Nyx is already the planets have already been worked on, if not finished. We're going to see a increase production of systems and other content for those systems as the server meshing itself comes in. Do I think we'll have an entire star map? Yes. Do I think it'll be No Man's Sky or Elite or... No, but it's never been trying to do that. The goal of Star Citizen is to have 100 systems. And with 100 systems, we'll probably get more like 20 before there's some more of a kind of a stop wiping, not released, but, stop wiping situation. And I think that we'll probably get 100 systems in the next 5 or 6 years. Later, Toot. Thank you, Toot. I would say don't go out and buy. I'm telling you not to buy. The reason why I'm telling you not to buy is to go watch some more videos and check it out for free when it comes out for free. If you really, really want to buy, $45 isn't that much of money, compared to other AAA games. But I would set your expectation probably. You're probably going to fall through the planet multiple times. You're probably going to have no fucking idea what you're doing when you play the game. You'll probably crash a bunch, both in-game and your computer. Shit's just going to be bad. Unless you have very optimal computer for this game, it will suck. But if you can fight through that and you can, get everything balanced out properly, this game will blow your mind. So we should buy the most expensive ship with real money. No, bad. Excited, definitely a subscriber now. Get content, Paul. Keep keeping up. No problem. If you really like lore, go watch the Galactic Historian series. It's pretty good. You'll probably have about 100 hours in there. I'd say easy 100 hours by now. Yeah, I got to do one once a chat. I gotta hit those bots down. Javelin is a starter ship. Changed my mind. No. Have I seen Star Atlas hangar mod video? I have. I also know that it's a great Unreal 5. It's great in Unreal 5 engine. I can pull up Unreal 5 footage and show it to you. It looks great. Unreal 5 looks great. It's not a game. Sarah, this is not a game. What you're seeing there is footage from an Unreal 5 with some assets imported. It's not playable. Pipe smoker? No, I don't smoke. I do have a pipe somewhere. It's mostly for show, though. If you're looking to get to play space games, I would not buy Star Atlas because there is no evidence that the teams that are involved in Star Atlas have any indication of actually making a game. They have hired people to build the game for them, and they've been putting assets in Unreal 5, but they don't have a plan. They don't have any documents. Like Star Citizen is a leap of faith, but the people who are involved in Star Citizen have, especially the leaders in Star Citizen, are all game industry veterans who've been making games for a long time. You can look at their design docs, which are pretty extensive in terms of giving you an idea of where they want to go with things. And they're very open about weekly updates. Plus you can play the game right now. Star Atlas is nothing like that, not even plans. So that's what I'd be worried about. Last question. Do you own an Orion? How would you defend it? You own an Orion. How would you defend it? Point the big laser at the enemies that are coming at you. It's a giant fuck you laser. or hire a Merc group. I don't own an Orion myself, so I'm not much of a miner. Deploy the giant pew. Would you do conference for Star? Would you do Star content for Star Atlas? You could be famous. Only if Star Atlas was a game. Like I don't give a shit about crypto or NFTs or whatever. None of that shit. I don't give a crap about it, positive or negative. I tend to err on the side of caution and not interested in it. But if the game's fun, I'll play it. But there's nothing in there that kind of puts it that way. Hole stripping lasers new PvP meta? Yes. Would UE5 even allow for the level of scale and detail Star Citizen's going for? Yes, actually. That's one of the big things that UE5 fixed from UE4 is to allow for that kind of scale. But to do what UE5, to do what Star Citizen does now, UE5 needs a little bit more tools than it currently exists. My specs are 16 gigabytes, 4790K i7 and RTX 1070, and I do quite okay. Yeah. I'm a 2070 Super, 32 gigabytes of DDR4 RAM, 1 terabyte M2 SSD, and an i10 700K. I do fine. I do above average. Any news on Reader 12? On the Gen 12 stuff? Yeah, they've as of February they've been continuing to plug it along. Mining lasers are going to be putting a lot of penises on ships. Yes. Taking engines off ships in atmosphere with one of the mining on the prospector, I imagine. So imagine a big one, yeah. Will the cutter be a weapon? I think you can kill people with a cutter, for sure. If you watch the video, that's what they're talking about with, and that's a engine test. What you just saw was, it's basically showing that you can in fact strip hull away from a ship and show the underskeleton of it, and actually reverse the process and put it back on as well. No, the cutter does not currently have a use. They've been trying to do placement for cutters so that you can like cut open like access points and such. But right now it doesn't have use. But it comes standard with the multi-tool. This has been a very weird stream. I'm going to say that. We've talked like for an hour on Star Wars and Paul Verhoeven. So when we assault Hurston, we use an Orion's laser to melt the hole in the walls of Lorville? Yes. When the revolution comes, we will be using the tools of the oppressor and overthrow them. And also large caliber rifles. What they are actually doing with the shader manipulation based on where you're pointing the pew-pew as it is just mind-blowing. Yeah. It's used to open locked doors and ships, I thought. I think you can do that, yes. I don't know if it still does damage, though. Did I watch the Haley TV show? Not yet. I want to watch it with my wife, Cam, when she's up, so. Listen, Omega, every ship is rated for Atmo. Once. Questions? Any thoughts on when they open the stations to weapons free? Soon. I think they'll probably do some tests for it by the end of the year, because they're really working on AI, and the biggest thing they're working on is AI security kind of behavior. And what they need to have to allow for the green zones to be more you fucked up and got fucked up, rather than areas being green zones currently being you just can't pull out your gun, has to do with AI being able to stop you, disable you, and charge you, like with crimes and such. So they are working on that system right now with AI's security being able to say, like, they even said last patch they had like AI saying, get the fuck out of here, this is your security zone, like your limited area zone. So hey Alison, how are you doing? If the PU gets big enough, will CIG have to modernize the gaming engine and make it similar to Unreal 5? They've already modified it. Star Citizen is constantly being modified. It's important to remember that Star Citizen, CIG, Cloud Imperium Games, Frankfurt is like half of the team that made the CryEngine in the first place. So they have people who are experts in the CryEngine because they built the damn thing. So those are the people who are updating the engine all the time and fixing things. I'm almost 100% sure that by the time Star Citizen's released, it will be its own engine compared to its original base engine because of how much they have to change to make it work. Question: what's my most anticipated feature for this 3.17 patch? Selling to vendors. For those of you who don't watch me a lot, I am a loot goblin, and I've been restraining myself to not grab everything out of boxes that I go to, because there's really no purpose in keeping and managing it and selling all that stuff. But now that you can sell weapons and armor in the game with 3.17, I'm definitely going to be doing that. Why is the game turn-based? Star Citizen's not turn-based. I wonder if people find a Bengal wreck, instead of repairing it, people just use the cutters to put messages into the hole, so people do it with like rocks in popular places. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, the one-button ATC is a huge addition too. Loot goblins unite. Yeah. What are your thoughts on the Redeemer? The Redeemer is garbage and deserves to be in a scrap pile or on fire. Fuck all Redeemers. I hate them. I hate them! A UE5 could, but you could start it from scratch and currently need to modify the engine to support the feature set that Star Citizen's going for. Yeah, UE5 needs more work than just out of the box, but so did CryEngine. And at this point, Star Citizen has basically built a brand new engine using Star Engine, or using the CryEngine as a framework. They internally call it the Star Engine because it is completely different. You know, hindsight, they should have started and built a engine from scratch, but you know, hindsight's 2020. They didn't know that they were going to have the kind of funding they had, or the scope, they were able to scale the scope up as much as they did. What's going on here then? In here then, we were commenting on Wikipedia's glorious hair in the latest ISC. Hey, do Craiglin. Why do I hate the Redeemer? Because it's a garbage ship. The Redeemer can't redeem itself. Ironic. Ironic. The game is not turn-based. That's your frame rate. Question is the poster helps a little bit, yeah. Question: isn't the only way to become a citizen to serve in Squadron 42? No. CIG said it's the easiest way of getting citizenship. There may be ways you can get citizenship in-game, because all that requires for you to get citizenship is that you serve the Empire. So if you serve the Empire in some beneficial way, maybe doing some certain missions or doing some specific mission chains, you may also earn citizenship in-game. It's just if you play Squadron 42, you automatically have citizenship. That's the only ship I hate, Access. The Redeemer is the only ship I hate. I still think the 400i is ugly looking, but I don't hate it. I think the Cutlass is god-awful and ugly, but I love it. The Cutlass Steel is the ultimate Drake ship, and I will die on that hill, but it's also overpriced. If it does have kidnapping, you can you use the Hawk. I just found out last night that it has the prisoner seat in the rear and a windowless box with handcuffs. Yep. That's its purpose. The Hawk is a bounty hunter ship. That's what it's back there for. Glad he was on. Yeah, it was pretty cool to see him on there. What's the deal with the way the Klingons look in TOS? Because makeup is hard. Did something bad happen with you and the Redeemer? It's a long story. I'm not going to tell it again. I tell it every single time. Just note that I hate it because the short of it is I hate it because I think other ships deserve to win. Question: why is that? What's the benefit for having citizenship? They've been very vague on the benefit of citizenship in game, but they've been focusing on things like easier, like maybe like going through jump points. You get maybe priority access to some jump points. You're less likely to get crime stats. It's easier for you to found organizations, especially multi-system organizations. You may not have to pay as many fees and taxes, that sort of thing. Well, I'm not gonna go into that too much, but I think we'll be fine. I think we're gonna get the full game before the world ends. Yes. So I can have babies. Yes? Not in Star Citizen, not in the game, though. Hey, Paul, did CIG scrap the modules for ships like the Cutlass and Vanguards? It's hard to tell. They've said that with the Vanguards, they've said in the past that they don't want to do the BUKs, the Battlefield Upgrade Kits, the Bucks, the B-Fucks. But they've also gone back on that. The question is more modularity, and they just haven't gotten modularity to work. So we'll see how that works. CIG could incorporate phasing through planets. Do you think? Yes, they could. Why does the UEE remain an empire after the last measure fell? Wouldn't new government want to distance itself from the imperial rule and lean into more democratic? This is a good question. And the answer is they tried. But the secret is that the empire is not a democracy. It's an oligarchy. So let me tell you, cast your mind back to just after the fall of the Measures. The reformists, the people who wanted to change the empire and kind of bring about a new change to the empire, the people who had been leading the revolution and had been fomenting revolution for hundreds of years, drew up a plan called the Government Modernization Act, which was specifically designed to move the capital from Earth to Terra and to change the structure and name of the empire to the Democratic Stellar Union. The problem is that half of the people who overthrew the Measures didn't really think that the empire was the problem. They thought that the Measures were the problem. And they weren't very keen on giving up their own power, especially those who were focused on Terra, where all the power was for so long. And so, like corporations. So the corporations and some of those other people began to foment discontent, saying that the GMU was going to cause a catastrophic economic collapse. And several people who were for the GMU began to protest and ask for their senators to pass the GMU. People who were against it began to protest, saying to deny the GMU. And there was a full fucking riot and near goddamn civil war on, I think, Angeli. One of the planets had a pro-GMU and anti-GMU protesters just started killing each other. And the new imperator at the time, Aaron Toy, was like, this is going to lead into a civil war. Like, the GMU is leading us into a civil war, and we can't do that. So she put it to a vote, and it barely lost. So the answer is they tried and failed. But the result has been the modern... what are they called? Transitionalist Party. So the modern Transitionalist Party wants to change that fact, but the old schools don't. God damn it. Shits. We're Russia post-USSR? Kind of, yeah. Does that make sense, Jose? It's a whole story right there. Right, the Transitionalist Party. Yes, who want to move the capital to Terra. The Transitionalist Party want to basically take the GMU and implement it. But they're the smallest party in the UEE, which shows you that the majority of people didn't necessarily think the Empire was bad. They thought that the Mezzers were bad. They come every week, Grim. Every week the scam box come out. So that's one of those things that, like, I've heard most people say, like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, the UEE, why are they still called an empire if they had a revolution? It's like, there's a story behind it, which is actually very interesting, but you can't go to a wiki and discover the GMU. You have to know about it. I can't fully believe you unless you draw on the red smoking jacket. Give me 5 minutes. Hello there. Welcome to my office hours. We're going to talk a little about the history of the UEE and the GMU. Sit back. There we go. Was the first Mezzer an actual hero? Yeah, he was a war hero. He was also a war criminal. Yeah, you also have the Devarn they rule over, yeah. My many expensive leather-bound books, yes. Including The Lord of Lore. When I get post-Massacre Nexus back? Yeah. This is nothing like the thumbnail said. A yeah. Kind of just got in, so I feel like kind of it. Do you feel that the coming updates to the injury system will make a tangible difference in the medical gameplay? I hope so. Because right now, medical gameplay is pretty much you get shot and you can re-heal yourself, and then you probably die before you actually get any actual injuries. So, thank you, V-Twin. The Oracle has arrived. What would he predict next? God damn it. Listen, Space Daddy is here. Like I said, Lando, you can be Space Dad, but I'm Space Daddy. It's actually a bubble pipe. The Lord of Lore, aka Space Daddy. I need an adult. I am an adult. Yeah, it's Smoking Jacket. Space Father. You're pushing the term. The recovery theft of an Ibrahim sphere is, as Squadron 42 mission expansion DLC would be a very interesting thing. Yeah, it'd be pretty cool. Also, the med guns like fix everything that doesn't kill you. The injuries aren't frequent enough. Yeah, there needs to be more frequent injuries, less frequent deaths. I think that's a really big thing. Predict planetside cargo trains. Predict planetside cargo trains. Predict planetside cargo trains. I'm not a fucking oracle. I just read the tea leaves. All right. Astropub's everyone's lore daddy. Oh god, that's what I should be. I'm not space daddy. I'm lore daddy. Shaken, not stirred. I go to the wiki for info, but I enjoy your telling of the lore much more. Big fan of your lore videos. Thank you, Jose. Yeah, the wiki is fine for lore. I always find that people are much more accessible. Like people find videos much more accessible because they give a little bit of personality. They read it. Like I haven't really physically read a book in a long time, probably 2 years. Not because I don't want to read, but I just don't have enough time. But I do listen to books all the time with audiobooks. And I find that that's the same thing a lot of people do. Because I do that myself when I'm looking at lore, is I'll listen to lore videos on YouTube. And I just listen. Sometimes I'll watch it, but mostly I just listen. And when I'm listening to lore videos, I'll often listen to like 4 or 5 different lore creators talking about the same topic just to get their different inflections and views on the things. So there also needs to be a reason for a medic to have a Cuddy Red. At the moment, you need his med gun, which is what I said when it fucking happened, and nobody fucking believed me. I said the red is fucking useless. Where do we get the Biomaster support respawn tech? It's a respawn gel. It's a regeneration gel. It's like a bio gel that was it's kind of like a 3D printing technology. It's effectively, you can take a 3D printer and insert bio like material, and it prints out the body and then imports your consciousness into the body. Which I think in the future they're going to have that as being an actual physical loading. Like you're going to actually have to reload respawn respawn beds with that gel. Because that would be a great way of saying tier 2 beds can respawn, but their quality is shit compared to tier 1, and they're also going to have much more limited resources. So you'll have a total amount of respawns you have at a tier 2 bed on like a Carrack. And it makes sense. It's like a tier 1 bed has more resources, practically infinite, plus also has more experienced like surgical suites to be able to fix tier 1 injuries. Yum, biojelly. I don't always read about lore, but when I do, I watch the Astropub, yeah. Stay thirsty, my friends. Red could be useful if there's ever an incentive for stabilizing a wounded player and transporting them to a hospital clinic rather than just respawning. That's going to happen when they put on the full Death of a Spaceman, which is something that's happening. When we go back to the insert biogel part, how's that going to work? What do you mean, how's it going to work? There's probably just a port somewhere where you insert a slot of things that say biogel. That's about it. Because the way that the lore actually works is the Ibrahim sphere just holds the information. There is a bio substance. It's like a regen substance is what it's called. Like it's just goop that they use to actually respawn things. Yeah, that's the other thing, is that you will actually have degradation of your body. Over time, bad prints, think about cheap versions of 3D printers, have cheap problems, bad quality. They don't print as well. But higher end printers will have a much better detail and they don't have to sacrifice as much. So when you respawn, depending on your own trauma echoes, you may actually have worse limb. Like you may lose an arm because the print and the print quality is garbage and your trauma echoes have added up too much. So it's difficult for everyone. The whole system to accurately reprint your arm the way that it was supposed to be, so it fucks it up. So you end up with like this, rather than, you know, end up with 3 fingers wielded together than actual 5 fingers, and so you have to get a prosthetic arm. I'd say your own DNA imprint would make bio jelly jelly you. Probably, yeah. Sorry, I'm late. I like it when they call me Space Papa. Hey, Kasumi. Does the bio jelly come in different flavors? That's a good question. Because it's one of the on Twitch, one of the awards I have is a little audio remotes. So there's like, I have good news. I've got the Zoidberg. I've got a meme about drugs with an owl. I've got some like space bacon. There's all sorts of things that people can do. But it's only on Twitch, so you'll hear it through here sometimes. So each rebed has different levels of quality. Yes, tier 1 is the highest level of quality. Tier 2 is lower, and tier 3 you can't even regen on a tier 3. So the higher the quality, the better, or the higher the tier, the better the print, and the higher the quality of the bed, the better the print. So beds inside, like high-end beds inside hospitals, are going to have better quality overall than low-end tier 1 beds in like Pyro. Still feeling like we're only either seeing salvage or cargo refactor for 315, but not both. I think we're going to see hull stripping for 318, and I have a feeling we're going to have component pull, being able to pull components out of ships in 318 as well. That'll come alongside with the cargo refactor. But I'm still banking on salvage coming out in 319 rather than 318. Yeah, tier 3 is a clinic. Like tier 3 is like a pharmacy, you know, like a tiny little basic clinic that they have bandages and some drugs they can give you, but that's about it. They're used to stabilize you, and they have it has the ability to kind of keep you from dying. Tier 2 is like a more advanced clinic where you have like some levels of technology to repair like broken bones and such. And tier 3 is obviously or tier 1, I should say. Tier 1 is like hospitals. I hope we can restore our imprint, otherwise it'll be in game. Yes, there are ways you can increase your character to return them to their proper status, but at a certain point, it's going to be too far. You're going to have to replace limbs or eyes with prosthetics in order to keep going. But once you permanently die, that character permanently dies, you basically get to re-roll a character and get a brand new body, obviously, with a brand new character, but you will lose some of the wealth and reputation that you've accrued over time, because you'll get a penalty for it. So it expects tier 2 or higher. Yes, tier 2 or higher is respawn. Tree, who's probably in the chat right now, vehemently disagrees with me on that point. And I know some of the people do, because they're really concerned that they said tier 1 should only be the ones. But I get why they're doing tier 2. Yeah, it's a reroll. So the way that Star Citizen's kind of respawn mechanic works you want to keep your character alive as much as possible. There'll be ways of restoring what's called your viability score, your imprint viability score, or IVS, in some way, shape, or form. But the best way is just preventative, prophylactive rather than reactive, where you're making sure that you're spawning at the right beds and limiting the distance, keeping a fresh imprint everywhere you go, that kind of stuff. Opinion. Everyone is entitled to their own opinion. You have the right to be wrong. Thanks for your information. No problem, Tailgater. Hopefully that helps you a little bit. Some of us will have an account for high risk, and others are playing it safe. That lives long. You must eventually have to do too much damage. Really? When I respawned at Grimhex, I had a Ninetales 2 on my arm. Yeah, they don't want people to cheese respawn, but they also don't want to punish players for being bad at the game. So I have a feeling like what you're likely going to have is your initial IVS score will not go down much after the first, say, 7 or so deaths, maybe 10 or so deaths. But after that, it'll start becoming a sharp drop off depending on how far you are away from your respawn bed, depending on, like, there'll be a lot of factors that they'll put in there. My wife gets too bad if I imprint too much. You and I both know that people who want cybernetic and prosthetic limbs will be like, get the cutting torch, damn the echoes. I have a feeling like CIG needs to allow for players to choose to be put into cybernetic bodies or get cybernetic augmentations, even if they're just cosmetic. They need to have that option. I'll allow it, Tree. So for those of you who know, Tree and Naz have done a podcast called the Pathfinders Podcast. They've done 2 episodes so far. They're a little long. They're like 2 or 3 hours each. So if you like really long content, go, like you're watching right now, go check them out. Tree, go ahead and put your link into chat so I can share it around. You're good, Tree. Put the link into chat. I need to become a cyborg so I can blast Metal Gear Rising Revengeance OST while fighting the Vandal with a sword. Yes! That's got it too. Okay. I'll post that into the other chats as well. Dude, I wish we had swords. That's my big thing is I want melee weapons. Yes, the Nova is intended to be a sword delivery service. I just want you to be able to turn out so I can lean out the side with a sword, and so I could scream, drive me closer, I want to hit them with my sword. I mean, they have knives, yeah. I mean, yeah, we're gonna have crossbows, obviously. Prepares dual cutlass wielding space pirate concept. I'd be cool with like the laser knife where you have like the laser edge to have that as swords, like a laser sword. I, for one, think it's great. Just imagine the number of bodies having to wash ashore on day 1 of life. I want prosthetic legs, and I want to earn them via 2-handed greatsword flesh wound. Space jousting on hoverbikes. I have a feeling that cybernetics will not be aesthetic, and I do think they'll be in game, and I think they'll have some sort of bonuses that they lend to, but they'll also have some drawbacks. And I know everyone's like, it would make no sense. We have ways of hardening things against EMP now. It's like, yeah, but for game balance, having EMP grenades or EMP weapons that will shut down, cybernetic implants makes sense. Yeah. I don't know how to spell just. I think that's about right. I think it's a French word. Ask a Frenchman. That would also be another thing. Instead of adding an additional resource that you have to manage, like having to have your prosthetics charged, that'd be interesting too. So that add another layer of the survival mechanic. You have to have food, water, and you also have to have some sort of charge to recharge your weapons. I wish we'd have full real mechs, but we'll see. I mean, Hunger and Thirst has been around forever. It's been around since like 3-4, but you know. Yeah, there is the Titan suit, but the Titan suit, I would hesitate to call the Titan suit a mech. It's more of a power armor than mech. I know a dude who deployed to Iraq in 05 who brought his NCO sword with him. Command didn't think it was funny. Everyone else did, though. Yeah. The weirdest thing I'm excited for in this patch is the fixing of landing gears resetting on relogging, specifically so I can replace my Reliant Tana. I love my spinny little ship. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff like that, and those are the things that tell me that persistence is coming faster than we think, because there's things like being able to transport ship components onto ships. So like you can like take your ship components out of inventory and drag it onto a ship. You won't be able to carry it physically yet. That's when physicalized cargo comes in, but you have that, so it's tracking that. It's also resets like food and water are now being tracked. Statuses of ships and your health is being more tracked. Those are all evidence that persistence is is growing patch to patch. So the idea of having possibly the first implementation of full persistence in the game by 3.18 is not an unrealistic idea, because that's not going to come out until July. We still have several months left. Have a good night, Sandy. Yeah, and the second when we get persistence means effectively that they have shards. They've even said that persistence means shards. So when they can get shards functioning, that's when they have persistence done. Then all they have to do is plug in the mesh into the shard. So like they need to get replication layer. That's the big thing. And I think it's on the roadmap. I'm looking up right now. Raftron! Yes. So the DGS crash recovery is being worked on right now. It's saved from the replication layer. And replication layer entry authority, its sprint ended sometime in early March. Server streaming ended in sometime in early March. And the development of distributed load testing that can simulate service tool loads and replicate user behaviors. That's still being worked on. That's the Live Tools team. The hybrid service was finished in February. Entity Stow Destroy was done in February. Atlas component for replication layer was done in February. There's a bunch of stuff that was finished. Let me show you. All of these have to do with replication layer. A lot of them were finished in March, in February. Now again, it's important to remember that just because a sprint was finished doesn't mean that there aren't more sprints to be done after the fact. I'm sure many of these sprints are finishing. They're going to go back to a huddle, figure out, go over what worked, what didn't work, and then reissue new sprints for going forward. But the fact that they've been kind of breaking these down into smaller components is usually the first sign that they're about to implement the actual system. So everything seems to be in place for a replication layer / sharding event thing happening in July, which is the first step towards actual server meshing. The mesh is the next part after that. Tech debt. Well, here's the thing, Kasumi, which is important to remember, is that tech debt only occurs when you have tech that you need to update, not when you just replace an entire thing. So a lot of this stuff is just replacing older services, which is when you replace older services, you don't have tech debt. Tech debt is going back and fixing old mistakes you made with earlier services. Like, for instance, the star map. The star map is probably going to be maintained, but it's going to be entirely replaced here shortly. So there's no point in going back and fixing the issues with the star map that makes it clash with other elements of the game right now, because it's not the star map we're going to be seeing in, the end of the year or whenever the new star map comes out. Wait, there's a developing race called Fairies Ape. Monkey lore, best game. There are two monkeys lore. There's Fairies Ape and there's also the Osoians. They're both monkey-like. In fact, the fucking Xi'an use the Osoian hide. I think it's Osoian hide, or it's like they use the Osoians as an aphrodisiac. And they're like an endangered species, basically. Do I think CIG needs something bigger due to their being in their anniversary? I think they need to announce Squadron again and stick to it. Monkey! Reject modernity, return to monkey. Question. I've seen that ship-to-ship refueling will be a thing, but will be gathering hydrogen and quantum fuel from places in space be a thing for the Starfarer? Not this patch, but in a future patch. In this patch you can buy fuel to fill up your Starfarer from stations and then use them. And there is still always passive refueling, which happens during transit. And I think even the Starfarer still has that because it has collectors for it, but it takes a long time. There's no active gas mining yet. No. Having a release date for Squad 42 would be nice. Yeah. CitizenCon 2952 live. Yeah, I think that's probably when they'd announce it, which is also around their anniversary anyways. So, as people say, oh, it's been 10 years. It's been 9 years. It'll be 10 years in September or October. It'll be 10 years in October. Question, do you think that we'll see a long-term niche for smaller ships like the Nomad, Avenger, Reliant 300 as a player's primary ship rather than just for fun little side ships to be around? Yeah, we call them, in Inforunners, we call them daily drivers. Those ships are daily drivers, and they're perfectly reliable, viable daily drivers. I think the 300 alone is going to be a sleeper ship because I think it's going to have insane longevity for a fighter. I think the 300 will be one of the few medium light-ish fighters which will have a long-range capabilities, which will make it probably one of the best escort fighters in the game. Because, a Gladius is great, but it's got incredibly short range. When is CitizenCon? October. I don't remember when in October, but it's sometime in October. Tech debt is also fixing edge cases or new bugs introduced by new implementations for the occurred during the development process. Part of tech debt is understanding, resorting, and other reported things, incurring debt. I get you. I get what you're saying, Kasumi. But it's also important to remember that, like, whenever I hear someone say tech debt, it's usually a term tossed out as to mean Star Citizen's still gonna have to go back and fix things. So it's gonna be they have this mountain of tech debt that they have to fix. The answer is they already do go back and do tech debt fixes. They talk about it all the time. And it's important to remember that tech debt as a whole isn't as much of an issue when you replace an entire system. It makes sense if the systems were in place and ready to go, and then they had to go back and fix those issues that have arisen because of bugs and other technical issues. But a lot of that won't matter until the future. An example of tech debt is in the game right now is ships. The fact that ships have to go, older ships have to be updated is kind of tech debt, but they function, you know? So it's important to keep that in context. Later Alphamon. Oh, that's salvage guns. Still waiting to see how we can salvage weapons off ships. I don't know if that's gonna be in the first version of salvage. So I wouldn't be surprised if they did something similar. We have tech debt from 4 years ago. It's on my to-do list. I get it, Kasumi. I just think that there's a lot of... I've heard the term thrown around a lot without the context of what it is in Star Citizen. Yeah, hull stripping is tier 0. It's tier 0. I wouldn't be surprised if by 318 they also had the ability to remove the guns and pull out components with just a tractor beam, because those aspects would probably come in with things like physicalized cargo, just being able to pick up those things and move them. I can imagine that there might be a little bit more work that needs to be done, but I can't imagine much. Roadmap specifically says hull scraping in 318. Yes. What happened to the Retaliator gold standard and modularity? Someone asked that in Captain's Table too. The answer is probably the Retaliator gold standard for sure is likely been put aside, or it's been moved to Citizen to Squadron 42. And as for modularity, I don't know. I think they're waiting for things like persistence. And they make it so you can drop components out of ships. They'll become projectiles. So maybe let's wait a bit before we ask for T1, Tier 2. I don't know if they're projectiles. I mean, effectively, all that a piece of component is, all that a component is just cargo. It's the same thing as cargo. I don't think there's a technical bridge between taking a component out and putting it in a cargo hold once you have physicalized cargo in. I think the technical issue is more telling the engine that you can, when you pull a part out of a ship, that part doesn't exist anymore. That's in the game now. It's just those parts aren't physicalized in the ship itself. They are physicalized in the sense that you can see them, but they don't actually exist there, like as a physical component you can pull out. That's the key, is being able to pull it out. That anything that is physical right now in the game is akin to a trolley or in an elevator. True, but if they're physicalizing boxes, there's every box in the game. There's adding a few ship components. Adding ship components isn't going to cause anything else any more of a. Effectively, if a trolley is a nuclear weapon, then what they're doing with physicalized inventory or physicalized like cargo is like a hydrogen bomb. So adding a few more nukes to a hydrogen bomb explosion isn't going to cause that much of a difference. Hey, Max, how you doing? Hey, Sparky. And terrifying. Because, I mean, you think about it. Like, when physicalized inventory is in, when physicalized cargo comes in, every bit of cargo is physicalized. So you're going to have to move every box into the game. That's not even mentioning NPCs. Who will also be able to move cargo, because they're already allowing the NPCs to move carts. Be afraid. Be very afraid. Will there be a point where there's no inventory whatsoever aside from what's equipped? No, because you'll always have to go into the like the backpacks and stuff like that. Stuff that you have on you. So there'll definitely be inventory. As long as I can buy the med gel for less than I make selling the spears, it's guaranteed money. Woof. Imagine they made sleep a thing. You can stay awake. You know what, Max? I'm going to tell you one thing. That's going to make you kind of lose your mind a little bit. I think CIG is going to add sleep to the game. And before anyone freaks out, most MMOs have something equivalent to this, which is a rest timer. Most MMOs say, stop playing our game, go away, come back, and you have an XP bonus. I think CIG will have something similar where if you're playing the game beyond a certain point, your character is going to maybe have some, maybe consume food more, consume water more, have some health repercussions for it. So saying log out and you log back in 8 hours later and your character is better and has that kind of stuff. That's fine, Sparky. No one has to sub or pay money for this content. I ask if you feel like you want to help out, feel free. This content is free and will always be free. I will make some exclusive content for patrons. I, in fact, have written an exclusive video for patrons, which will be out next week. I've been putting it off a little bit more. Sounds like Westworld. Eventually, those NPCs will become aware and turn the carts on us. Yes. Your Red Bull, coffee, you know? I think they already do that. They may. I don't know. But I think it's a natural progression for things like hygiene and food and water to have some sort of rest timer. Because almost all MMOs have it. And it's usually designed for health purposes, I think. It's designed to incentivize players to play, but also to take time off and then come back later so that, you can be more efficient with grinding or playing the game in spurts rather than in one solid chunk. Right now, if you're in the least bit parched, I put a box diagonally onto a delivery receptacle.
Drugs.
Drugs will work too, yeah. Hygiene? There is no hygiene. Only Star Citizen. Okay, Fiderius, that is a very, very late response to my talking about the new trilogy. I will say this again. I think the new trilogy got shat on a lot worse than it should have. There's another critical take on Star Wars. I think the Return of the Jedi was probably one of the worst Star Wars ever. Not the worst. I would say Episode 2 is the worst Star Wars ever. Episode 1 not too far behind it. But I would say that the Rise of Skywalker and Return of the Jedi are like even out for that third worst spot. I would say probably the Rise of Skywalker and then the Return of the Jedi. The only question, will we have a brewery gameplay? I think we will. I think we're going to have a lot of that stuff, but I think they have to get other stuff done before they can do those sorts of things. I sleep often in VR chat. Can I do this in Star Citizen 2 in the future? Probably. Where does the Christmas special wind up in this tier list? We pretend it doesn't exist, even though it's canon now. Yeah, Fidarius, that was way back there. Yeah. When do I think it'll be out? I think it'll be out in PTU probably tomorrow or early next week, possibly even Saturday. Will Crusaders have more places to explore? I hope so. CIG has said no, but I hope they change their mind. Z tier, I got it. Yeah. My biggest fear is that the Area 18 coffee cart vendor becomes self-aware and seeing humanity as a threat to its existence. Oh yeah, right. Yeah, 1 hour. 1 hour is when it's come out. Usually I do that when it's like been asked 1,000 times. That's the first time it's been asked, so. The Halo stuff looks okay. I haven't seen the Halo stuff yet. If you have, please don't talk about it. Like, don't spoil it. But I feel like the Halo series is one of those shows that Paramount is embarrassed that it has and has no idea how to market it properly. So, and I honestly think, like, for instance, I also think that Paramount is just garbage at marketing because Discovery's trailers sucked ass. Their commercials were terrible. Like, every Paramount Plus show I've seen advertised looks god-awful, and some of them are good or passable. I just think they're just terrible at marketing. Whoever is the head of the Paramount marketing team, like, I think really needs to step down. But good, I could be wrong, because there seems to be people who enjoy that shit too, so. Does the pipe blow bubbles? It sort of does. It's not great at it, but. I will not spoil it too much, AJ. But there is more than one system in Squadron 42. That's all I'm going to say. It's okay for people who are developing a TV series to have never played or read the content that you're basing it off of. That's fine. Because I think, personally, every piece of media needs a different approach. The Halo novels do not work with the Halo video games because the Halo novels are pretty dense in terms of the lore, and they require a lot of references back and forth. And they're interesting explorations into the concept, but the games are a completely different feel. And I think any Halo TV series is going to have to veer away from the canon, and it's going to have to establish itself as a good, solid sci-fi story. As long as it keeps the aspects of Spartan program, that the Spartan program is fucked, that Halsey's Dr. Mengele, that the UNSC is kind of bad, and that the only reason why that they're not the bad guys is because the Covenant are worse, I'm cool with that. Like that basic concept. They're slaying it on Paw Patrol. I've heard that they've been doing pretty well with Paw Patrol, yes. I watched Discovery Season 1 and most of Season 2. I haven't finished Season 2 yet. Bro, Perma Plus has Clifford the Big Red Dog. You take it back. Yeah, Halsey's a war criminal and human government's fascist as fuck. Yes. Adaptations have to entertain first before they can adapt. They do, yes. That's the important part, is to remember that all adaptations have to be interesting on their own. They have to stand alone from their material to be interesting. Look at The Expanse. Anybody who's read the Expanse novels knows that the Expanse TV show is very different from the Expanse novels, and it becomes more like the novels as it goes along. But that's because as the later novels were being written, the two guys who wrote the Expanse were working on Game of Thrones. So they started to write their book as if they were writing The Expanse to become a TV series. And by like the fourth or fifth book, The Expanse was a TV series. So they began to write in the way concept of how the TV series works, because both Ty and I forgot the other guy's name worked with the original with Game of Thrones, because both of them were worked with George R.R. Martin. So they were actually like I guess understudies or worked with him as like writers and stuff like that. And so you can tell that the two creators of The Expanse worked with the writing team for the Expanse TV series, saw ways to go back and fix the fuck-ups they made with the first books. And it's very different, but it still works. Characters are missing entirely from the TV series that were in the books, but they are combined together. Like Drummer is like 7 or 8 different characters pushed together, but Drummer is one of the best characters in The Expanse. So that's kind of the point. Like, it's okay if, as long as Halsey exists and John exists and Johnson shows up at some point, and Keyes, those are the ones who really matter. And eventually, the Arbiter and the Prophets, they can vary a little bit. How that all works can be different, as long as they're interesting. New mediums allow you to explore new aspects given an IP. Yeah, like if Star Citizen or Squadron 42 ever got made into a movie or television show, it would be very different from what we experience in game, simply because of the nature of telling stories. The Expanse didn't suck. It didn't, but the first season was, it's hard. It's hard to watch Expanse Season 1 knowing the later seasons. You really have to stick it out for the first 5 episodes, and then it gets better. Question, do you think in 2022 we can still call a video game a video game? Yeah. I mean, video is just a term of like playing on, like you're watching it. Most normal science fiction fans, including myself, had to fight through the first 5 episodes. Once they get off, the episode where they get off of the Martian battleship. Once they get off the Martian battleship, that episode when they're getting off the Martian battleship saves that entire first season. No, all the seasons are good. It's just this has been a kind of all over the place thing. We've talked a little bit about Star Citizen. I think 3.17 is still the beginning patch, or AKA the Blue Balls patch, where it's the beginning of something new. And we're going to see, there's a lot of small things that are adding in. I think the next patch, we're going to see a couple of big things added and not a lot of small things. And then the patch after that, I think we're going back to some small things, you know, bigger, but still small things. And then the end patch of the year, they'll try to crowbar in like server meshing if they can make it. So yeah, no, I'm tired. I'm about to head out. So I just want to kind of wrap it up. Thank you also for hanging out with us here and watching the Captain's Table. Captain's Table, that's how tired I am. The office hours, like I said, this is a show where I'm just rambling about stuff right at this point. Thank you for joining us. We'll be back tomorrow for some regular old Zero to Hero content. So come join us as we try to deliver boxes in war zones. Saturday, we've got Captain's Table. I have not selected all of the members of the Captain's Table yet. I'm going to talk to... I've talked to Ray's guide. Talked to Ray. He said he's interested in joining us. I'm going to see if he's available this weekend. It may be too short notice. And then I'm also going to talk to Space Coder. So when Ray comes on, it'll be Ray and Space Coder, because both of them have technical experience when it comes to these sorts of things with... you know, technology, developer and coding. So to talk with the both of them. But if not, then we'll definitely have some other folks. Next week, for certain, is going to be our April Fool's episode for Saturday, which is going to be Darge and HC Vertigo. I voluntold them that they're coming on. We'll talk about it, though. To get the big gun CT, yeah. Ray's vids on Servertech is aces. Yeah, I mean, I've had a lot of people say, have you seen his vids on Servertech? And I saw a little bit of it, but it seems like I pretty much have the same take he has. He's just very good at explaining it compared to me. So, you got the end of the stream. That's all right. You can go back and watch it at the very beginning. Thank you all for watching. Like I say every time, hope to see you someday in the black. And remember, ex Historia ad Astra.